Hello and welcome back to the July 2014 Evolve with Dr. Laura Basha video and writing excerpt page. So this month we're going to take a moment to look at the essence of chapter 3 of my new book, The Inward Outlook. And the chapter 3 is titled Thought, Developing Conscious Choice. So we've talked a little bit about thought and how our thinking creates our experience of reality. That's essentially what this book is about, is to break down the different elements that are involved in really creating a life that's fulfilling and joyful, and the life that's authentically self-expressing who you truly are. So the chapter opens with another quote by Eckhart Tolle, and I'll read a little excerpt from this quote. It says, "When you give up struggling to find answers with the limited thinking mind, that is when a greater intelligence can operate through you." So right there in this little excerpt from this quote, Tolle is telling us, referring in his way of articulating truth in the heart of his work, these two modes that I'm going to be talking about and that chapter 3 goes into in a little more detail. So the two modes of thought that are common to every human being are what we could call process thinking and flow thinking. And these two modes of thought are, this model is principle based. So it's deeper than culture, it's deeper than generational influence, it's deeper than gender. It goes across all of those constraining contexts, because a principle-based paradigm is deeper than any content or condition that you might be working with or confronted with. Therein lies its beauty, and therein lies its real pragmatic usefulness. So process thinking is actually the collection of data that is stored in the intellect. It's basically what we would call memory. Our memory is made up of, all the things we've learned. We've talked about this before. All the experiences we've had, all the meaning that we've made those experiences, what we've made out of those experiences. And we tend to access memory. We're a little besotted with memory, so we tend to almost always default to memory. Now listen, memory is a really awesome thing. Like, what would life be like if when you got in your car, if you could remember how to get in your car, if you could remember what a car was, if you got in the car and you forgot how to drive the car? How would your day go if you had to relearn how to drive the car every day? Or let's say you remembered how to drive the car, but you didn't remember how to get to work, and you didn't remember how to use the GPS. Now, we used to use maps, but we've moved beyond maps now, so everything talks to us. But if you forgot how to utilize all the things that you rely on to get through a day-to-day, the mundane things of day-to-day life, which actually have taken years of training to have become default settings for you, if you forgot all that, life would be very, very difficult. So memory is a beautiful thing. Now, where memory falls short is if we need to access something, if we need to see something new, if we need to have an insight about something, if we need to have something be creatively self-expressed. That's when we actually need to have access easily to what I would call flow, the flow state of mind, which basically is the quality of thinking that is available to us when we are in the moment, present, this kind of diffuse way of seeing life, paying attention to what's happening right now with no attention to any thinking from the past. That gives us access to infinite intelligence, which is what Tolle's pointing to. When we stop relying on the tool of intellect as if it had all the answers, and we actually are willing to trust taking our attention away from that and really just being present now. I've said this before. Be here now. A whole world that first occurs as silence opens up to us. But within that silence is a scintillation of infinite intelligence. And that's where insight lives, and that's where creativity lives, and that's where genius lives. And that's where all the higher order feelings that we're looking for live. Joy, freedom, peace, compassion, love. I mean, the lowest feeling in that state of mind is contentedness. The highest feeling is perhaps, bliss. But in the process thinking, if we don't have access to flow and we're only in process, we're kind of caught up in the constraints of the computer called the intellect. There's walls to that. There's a box to that. So the healthiest use of our thinking is to align ourselves with this flow thinking that is always available to us by quieting our attention to what we know, to memory, and listening for that scintillating silence. And while we're aligned with that silence, utilizing the tools of memory. That is healthy psychological functioning. That's the healthiest place to come from. Because life does present very challenging circumstances. And they run the gamut from trauma to happiness and fun and joy. But often we need to be able to address the issues of life. But rather than coming from the feelings that we experience when we are taking our cues from outside of ourselves, we engage in the experience that we're involved in, or the condition or the situation that we're involved in, from that inner space of silence and quietness, which has all those attributes of joy and peace and wisdom and genius and common sense. Like everything you're looking for, you already have. It's in here, though. It's not out there. Some people have said to me over time, what a sort of Pollyannish attitude this is. But I'll tell you, Pollyanna knew something because she changed a whole town. So the possibility for living from flow is that scintillating silence that you tap into, you actually can become a conduit for. And that resonance of infinite intelligence becomes available to your world. And it occurs to people as a presence. And it's that presence and that scintillating, energetic expression that comes through you when you align with that quiet mind, catalyzes that quiet mind in others, and what they need to see and what they need to have and what they need to get insights on occurs to them just because you showed up. So thank you for tuning in. I hope you're having a wonderful summer. The book, my intention for the book, I'm talking to my publishers. It should be out in the fall. In the meantime, thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this little talk, and I'll see you again in August. Take care.